Okay, what we're going to do today is we're going to start in our daily work. We're going to start with a part that's already been modeled, and you have to ensure that you retrieve all the dimensions to get 100% of the dimensions in your part. So the first thing that I've given you guys, I gave you guys a whole folder, and in that folder is the part, and it also has the instructions, and it has an IDW file, the drawing proto start file. So I'm going to open that first. And here I'm going to bring in the under dimension verification, this one. So I wanted to first start with a short video on just how to how to fill in all the blanks. It's a little bit different than other software, so I'm just going to revisit a little bit. And it looks like it's taking its own sweet time. So here we go. Has one sheet on it. We're going to have as many views as necessary. So I want you guys to notice that I've already put in initial release. If we want to change this, we're going to change the date to our date. That's 8/28/17. And say OK or apply. Now, that should be the same date as down here, because the initial release or the initial creation is the initial date. So if we go down here under field text, notice that it has a creation date right here. This is a parametric drawing, and I want to show you guys something about this. I'm going to make the title. The title is also blanked out. I can't do anything with any of these things. So it doesn't let me fill in any of these. So how do I do that? The title of this, so if I edit the definition of the title block, this is where if your name is too long, you can double click on this and you can make this 80% stretch, get your name to fit in there correctly. But it also tells us where these parameters come from. The parameters of this title come from the properties of the model. So when I put the model in, it comes out of the title of that model. So it automatically fills in. Now let's look at scale. If I double click on scale, we're going to find out what that comes from. That comes up from a prompted entry. Now we found something new, you guys, that actually put in the initial view scale. It pops it in there for us automatically so that we don't have to do that. And I've been looking for this forever. And what I can do is I can delete this because it's not a formula. And I can go to properties of the, what was it? Properties of the drawing. And that has the sheets in it. There are drawing properties, which is a whole nother thing. And then there's something else. Prompted entry, sheet properties, initial view scale. So the first view that we put in the drawing, no matter what it is, the base view that you put in here, it's going to change the scale of the drawing. Any of the rest of the views, it doesn't matter how they're projected. If it's a smaller view, an isometric view, it won't put that in there. It's a base view. So if I put in this parameter and say OK, that's going to be ready. Creation date, if I double click on this one, is the creation date of the drawing. So that will self-populate. Sheet number and the number of sheets comes in, and the designer, where does that come from? The properties of the model. So this is not really what we want. We want to know who drew this drawing, right? So after I finish amending this, I'm going to give you guys a new copy of this so that it's all set up correctly. All you have to do is just copy that down and replace the one that you have in your directory, okay? So we don't want the properties of the model. We want properties of the drawing, and we want the author of the drawing. That's going to be you. You're creating that drawing. You may not have designed the part, so I'm going to go ahead and put that parameter in. So which ones do we have? This one is coming in by the view. This one is coming in by the part. This one is coming in by the drawing and by the drawing. So, and this is a part number in the model. So if I finish this and say yes, that makes this table parametric. Look at how I put this in here for me. That's who created that. But if I go and I right click right here and I go to the properties of the drawing. Now we have properties of the model and we have properties of the drawing. So if we go to the summary, I am the author of that. And you're going to find that it's going to have my name in your drawings too. So you need to go back and change the author to your name. Your 3 initials, 4 initials, or your first initial and last name. The title of this, I even put carburetor axis and it didn't come in here because it's coming from the model. So I'm going to go to project, and that's where the creation date is. So if I click on this, notice that it goes to, let's go to today's date. Today's date, click that right there and it'll pop it right in there for us. So that should be changing the things that we want. So I'm going to apply that and close it. So it put in today's date, whatever that is. Now the scale is going to come in whenever I bring the part in, and hopefully the title is going to self-populate whenever I bring the model in. So I'm going to save this, and I'll say yes, and I want to file, save as, and I'm going to put this back into the S drive so that you guys can go and grab that and replace the one that you copied over, because this will be more correct. So I'm going to go to Kim Duran 2402, dimension verification, and I'm going to save it as that, and yes, save it. Okay, so you guys can go and get that, override the file that came in that folder, okay? All right, so now that we have that, notice that it already has ASME. Note that's something that we have to have on every drawing that stands up in litigation in court. The material is whatever the part says the material is, and hidden lines omitted for clarity. Now, if you don't omit the hidden lines, that means we're going to put no hidden lines in any of the views. The reason is this part gets really busy. And so when you do that, it just makes it clear. So if I go in here now and I file save as, I'm going to save this as, what was that, cylinder head? Okay, yeah. So it's putting it in the correct place, or is it? Can I tell? If you hit workspace, you guys, that is going right to your current project. So it's just like a workspace in Creo or whatever. It may be trying to override the S drive, which I can do, and I don't really want to do that. So I'm going to call this my cylinder head drawing. And now that's what I'm working on. So now I'm going to bring in a base view. I'm going to bring in a base view, and I'm going to open the part, and here's the cylinder head frame, and I'm going to open that thing. Now if you look at it, we're looking straight down on the holes, the countersink holes. And what do you know about dimensioning countersink holes? We have to dimension them where we can point to the outer of the 2 circles. We have to have this view, right? Now right here we have hidden lines. I want no hidden lines right there because I said hidden lines are removed for clarity. I could put a view label under here. I could do whatever I want, change my scale. But this is my base view. I could make it any view that I want. So I'm going to say OK. And I could have continued making projected views. But if I right click on this, I'm going to create a projected view from it. Do I need that view? It doesn't have anything that I can dimension in it, does it? What about that view? I've got those holes. I have to dimension those. All right, and what about this view? It's got a hole, so we have to dimension it there. This view has nothing. So this kind of tells us if there are no features, doggone it, if we have no features in a view, then we don't need that view, right? So I'm going to right click and say create. Now I couldn't project another view over here because this view, the back side, is projected from here. So I'm going to projected view. Now you see that huge flat bottom hole. And if you look, the base view is the very top view, and it's controlling the line types, whether you're seeing hidden lines, center lines, whether it's showing any hidden lines, no hidden lines, or shading. Okay, so these are the views that we need, and I'm going to stop this right here.